So Arthur C. Clarke, one of the pioneers of science fiction, he famously wrote, "Any sufficiently advanced technology will be indistinguishable from magic." So what the aliens are saying to us that as we explore the many worlds across the galaxy, we might find on one of them a beautiful tropical island like this. And then, with the powers of instantiation, physical materialization, perhaps we could materialize a dwelling, a temporary dwelling that was quite sufficient indeed. And, maybe hang out on the beach here for a couple of weeks and then dematerialize this, jump in our interstellar spacecraft, and fly away through the interdimensional void to some other planet. And none of this would cost a dime. The alien common sense that they're trying to point out to us is that energy is free. Now we know that already, and Stephen Greer is trying to have this brought out of the classified sphere and get it going. There's no reason to have an oil war now, is there, if you have free energy? Communication is free. Ultimately, we will be reintroduced into this telepathic continuum with the living mind of the universe. And we don't need any telecom corporations anymore for that. Transportation is free. The anti-gravity and the transdimensional stuff powered by the free energy, we can go anywhere for nothing. The territory is free because there are many, many thousands, probably billions of planets for us to explore. There is no reason for the human race to undertake a war over territory. The territory is infinite. Knowledge is free. Once we are fully introduced into this larger construct of consciousness that we're just beginning to find out about now, Bearden is saying that large-scale knowledge bases can be transferred. Now that's huge. So there is no scarcity of knowledge. There will be no such scarcity. And manufacturing, that's physical materialization or instantiation of complex devices and biological objects, and including food. So all those things are free, and that's what they're trying to point out to us. Now on Earth, in this day and age, corporations rule, and governments are their face. The governments are superficial. They are facadal agents working to further a money economy, which the corporations own and distribute with advertising and with their phony news corporations. They control the information we get so far. Now the internet is chipping away at that, but they respond with massive amounts of disinformation. So ultimately, military power on Earth now is allied with these corporate interests. And the military men don't care too much about legalese and proclamations in courtrooms and such where the adjectives fly. And they probably don't care too much about internet blowhards either, because they have ultimately physical capability to impose their will. And however, we do seem to have a partial schism between military or national intelligence agencies in the United States and corporate or ultranational intelligence agencies. So there is kind of a Venn diagram where all these different agencies, they're all kind of have these shifting alliances. So here you might have IBM and the NRO and Siemens. In this little corner of the diagram here, maybe for one particular operation, they would make a temporary alliance. And these Venn diagrams, the alliances are shifting and moving. It's dynamic. So, for instance, in this diagram is kind of like a Venn diagram. Each bubble there, each compartment might represent an interest group, and sometimes a division or a barrier between interest groups would pop, and those two interest groups would be temporarily merged. It's a changing sort of like a cloud-like structure it isn't permanent. It's shifting all the time, shifting alliances. And it's all clothed in secrecy and delicious propaganda and lies and stuff like that. Now, if the ultra-national powers that be, the corporate guys, were considering a completely artificial alien invasion scenario in order to foment a unified global defense fund. Well, if they have the audacity to consider a plan like that, well, then why wouldn't they arrange for smaller, merely human regional wars with the same objective? To pump up the war industry, the international war industry. So because we have very little information in the public, we have to speculate in a vague attempt to model the truth, like a kind of a sleuth, an amateur detective. Let us consider the saber rattling surrounding the Chinese attempts to consolidate their grasp on oil assets in the South China Sea. They are building an artificial island, probably as a military staging point. Now, if the ultranational corporate consortium is planning this war, companies from both the United States and China could be seated in the secret boardroom. In other words, they're planning this war together. The industrialized war machine in both countries could benefit from a large-scale conflict. So it's a big business operation. And this harkens back to old money banking institutions from Europe, which may have financed both sides in World Wars I and II. Same kind of a thing there. That's sort of the old money, the European banking institutions, and the new money is the international corporations. And the new money likes to use the old money in all of their propaganda conspiracy theories. So they're always trying to blame everything on the Illuminati, which is the old money. They're the big scapegoat in all the propaganda conspiracy theories that are outside of the mainstream press. So it's hard to try and figure out what's going on.